de por y para. Cuando se usa por y cuando se usa para. Y sobre todo, ¿por qué? Y chicos, bueno, como ustedes saben, yo prefiero presentar esta gramática y, bueno, todos los conceptos con un contexto. Y después ustedes van a identificar las reglas o the rules al revés de la presentación del libro. Pero para empezar, vamos a repasar las expresiones que ya conocemos con la preposición por. ¿No? ¿Cuál es una expresión que conocemos con la preposición por? Voluntario. ¿Sí, Sam?
Por la tarde.
Por la tarde. Excelente. Por la tarde. ¿Qué más?
Por la mañana.
¿Repiten? Perdón. ¿Por qué? Muy bien. Es un buen ejemplo porque vamos a aplicar más información de lo que sabemos sobre por qué, forma de pregunta, por qué, forma de respuesta. Phoebe? Por favor. ¿Cómo se dice por favor en inglés? Please, ¿no? Excelente. Y favor en inglés es favor. Entonces vamos a también conocer más usos de por con lo que conocemos o lo que sabemos de por. Y por favor, se ven aquí y por aquí, ¿no? Por allá, por aquí. ¿Dónde tenemos clase? ¿Por aquí o por allá? ¿Por el parque o por el centro? ¿Dónde es la fiesta? ¿Por el gimnasio o, bueno, el baile? ¿El gimnasio o por dónde? Entonces, hay muchos ejemplos, muchas frases que conocemos. Por fin, por ejemplo, ¿no? Hay muchos. Entonces, este concepto es nuevo. Entonces, ahora ustedes van a identificar los usos de por con estos ejemplos. ¿Ok? Primero, estuvo en tráfico por 3 horas. Entonces, chicos, en sus papeles necesitan copiar por y también 3 horas, ¿no? Entonces, necesitan copiar por 3 horas aquí en la línea. Entonces, ¿qué significa? Let's focus on the meaning. Estuvo en tráfico por 3 horas. What are we talking about here? Being in traffic for 3 hours. No? So instead of thinking, oh, por means for, we can't apply this concept like that. We can't really translate it into English. What we need to really focus on are the context clues that support the use of por, because it becomes very consistent. Each one of these examples today you can apply to your superside homework, which of course is going to be choose por or para, which will probably just be one attempt. But if you use this handout today or reference this PowerPoint on oaths, you can apply the following to choosing por. When we see por with a duration of time, if you see like 5 días, like un año, 3 meses, or 2 semanas, or 20 minutos, any duration of time after the blank is going to be por. So that's what you're going to look for when you do your superside homework. So here on your paper, where it says los usos de por, you can write duration of time. And maybe you could label this as number 1 and then put number 1 down here so you know the example that supports that rule or exhibits that rule. So we're working backwards from what the book does. The book gives you the rule and then you're supposed to apply it, but I'd rather show you the example and then you figure out the rule. It's more meaningful that way. Okay, this use of por is a little less obvious. This requires a lot more thinking. So on your papers, you're going to copy por no utilizar. And if we just looked at this in the context, we'd be like, oh, por plus infinitive. But we can use para. plus infinitive. And we'll see some examples with para plus infinitive. So on the super side of the test, if you see an infinitive, it could be por or para. So it's really important to know when you use por with an infinitive and when you use para with an infinitive. And Nick started at the beginning, when we were listing the uses of por that we know, or the phrases with por that we know, Nick mentioned por qué. ¿Cómo se dice por qué in inglés? Why? Exactly. When it's two separate words, por qué means why. When it's one word, it means because. Exactly. So when you try to figure out, do I use por with this infinitive or para with this infinitive, you want to build on what you already know. You know por qué means because. You know por qué means why, which are words we use when we need an explanation, right? And here is an explanation right here. So he got lost. Why? Por qué? Why did he get lost? He didn't use his GPS. Okay, so we know we could rearrange the word order of the sentence and use the actual word por qué, a word that we're so familiar with. We could rearrange the sentence and simply say, se perdió por qué. And when we use por qué, just like the connector K that we learned in chapter 9, por qué is also a connector, which requires the conjugation of the next verb. Por qué no utilizó el navegador GPS. So on the superset and on the test, if you see an infinitive, you can decide and confirm it's por if you're providing an explanation, if you can rearrange what the sentence is saying and use por qué instead of por. ¿Entienden? We'll practice this at the end to make sure you get it, because it is a little tricky to distinguish when you use por with an infinitive and when you use para. But just build on what you know. Por qué means because, which is what we use with an explanation, and same with por. It's just a sentence structure. This one's a little more obvious. Pagué $300 por estas llantas. Pagué, which means what? What does pagué mean? I paid. Right, exactly. I paid some money for these tires. No? $300. So how is por being used here? What's this saying? Exchange of goods, right? Okay, so por is being used here to indicate how much we paid for the tires, right? Okay, so whenever your context clue, and this is pretty obvious, like the first example, not nearly as ambiguous as the second one. When you see an amount of money, it's probably going to be por, when it's either before or after the blank. ¿Cuánto pagaste por las llantas? Or nosotros pagamos mucho dinero por los libros en la universidad. No? Any type of exchange of goods. But remember, it doesn't always have to be monetary. In elementary school, you would trade your Doritos for your classmate's cookie. So you can always, you can also have an exchange of any type of goods. It doesn't always have to be dollars. So careful with that one. Okay. Okay, so ven a tu ejemplo. Por aquí. Right here. Por aquí or por allá. Those are more along the lines of expressions that you were mentioning. Por el parque. Por, no sé, la silla, el asiento de mi carro, algo así. So we're going to use por with locations to indicate where things are or were left. En ese caso, when we lose things, etc. Okay, por ejemplo, this is like our question that started class. Todos los días conduzco por la calle King. Conduzco por la calle. No? So, just like at the beginning of class, this example is simply stating what? I what? Every day I drive down or through King Street, down King Street probably. But then in the beginning of class, we said, when do you drive through Charleston, downtown, etc. So you can't always translate it into English. But this use of por, I have a question for you, because we can't, just like with por or para with infinitives, we can't just look at por in a place and say, oh, on the superset or on my test, if it's a place, it's got to be por. Because we can also use para with places. So here's what distinguishes a place with por versus a place with para. Yo soy de Kentucky, y cuando yo conduzco a Kentucky, yo conduzco por North Carolina y por Tennessee. Pero Kentucky es mi destino. Cuando conduzco por North Carolina y por Tennessee, no voy a North Carolina, no voy a Tennessee, voy a Kentucky, porque Kentucky es mi destino, pero North Carolina y Tennessee son los estados de la ruta. So por with a place is used when we are talking about the route we take to get somewhere. Cuando voy a Mount Pleasant, yo conduzco por el puente Ravenel. Or cuando voy a Folly Beach, yo paso por James Island. Cuando voy en mi bicicleta a mi trabajo, yo paso por la calle King y después la calle Wentworth y después la calle Glebe, etc. So I'm using por to state my route, what I go through or go by. Now, but I'm going to use, and we'll see an example here in a second, para with the destination. So you can use them in the same sentence, and we'll see an example here in a second with para and destinations. Okay. Le escribo mensajes de texto a mi esposo por móvil, todos los días, por móvil. And I can't remember if the book even talks about this. I don't think it does. Nope, it doesn't. Okay. There's two that the book leaves out that you do need to know. Por móvil, what's it saying? I text my husband on my phone, right? Every day. Okay, so por móvil, móvil is your context clue. If you see correo electrónico, email, FaceTime, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, etc., however you communicate, means of communication. Por teléfono celular, no? Any type of means of communication. That's the rule here. So you're looking for context clues after the blank that refers to any type of communication. ¿Entienden? ¿Sí? ¿Más o menos? This one's obvious. This one's way more obvious than some of the other ones. Y uno más, con por, which is not included in the book either. En los Estados Unidos se maneja mucho por carro. So in the previous example, we had por with some sort of means of communication. Correo electrónico, mensajes de texto, FaceTime, Skype, lo que sea. But here, this isn't a mean of communication. This is what? A carro is transportation, right? Any type of mode of transportation. Por bus, por tren, por Uber, por Lyft, por avión, por carro. Any type of mode of transportation. If it comes after the blank, we'll use por. Okay? And this simply translates as what? In the U.S., they, here's that impersonal say, no one specific, they drive a lot by car, right? By. So it doesn't always translate the same. Through, down, by, for. Muchos usos de por. So you really have to focus on the context clues rather than what it means in English. Okay. Ahora vamos con para. Do we know any expressions with para? Have you ever used para before? Sí. When have we used para, Brooke?
I have a question about the
Sí.
last one. So that was regarding like direction.
Mode of transportation. So on your paper you write por carro, but if you see tren, avión, bus, metro, you're going to use por. Does anybody remember any expression with para? Sí, señor, se usa para. So even though it may not appear as deliberate, I had you using that expression for the past 2 chapters, chapter 11 and chapter 10, because I want it ingrained in there, that impersonal say or passive say, and also para, se usa para. And careful with that one, because you're used to writing sentences like los ojos se usan para ver, or las llaves se usan para arrancar el carro. Now, para plus infinitive, in that example, is used to state a purpose in order to see, or to see. And we can also use it in a question. So we're very familiar with por qué as a question, why? But you can also use para with que in a question. So careful, don't just automatically assume, oh, it's upside down question mark blank, que, it's got to be por qué. It can also be para qué if you're asking what it's used for. Para qué usan los ojos? Or para qué se usa la tecnología? I think even at the beginning of the chapter, I asked you, ¿para qué usas la tecnología? And I gave you that question to kind of get you on track with the chapter theme, but so you could see a question with para qué. What is it used for? What do you use it for? ¿Entienden la diferencia? So don't automatically think if it's question with que, it's por. Because por qué means why, but para qué is asking what it's used for, its purpose. We'll see that here in an example with our uses of para. Going back to places, para, el taller mecánico. We had, oh, actually I had it with salgo para. We had in a previous example, por with a place, por aquí, or por la calle aquí, to talk about our route. But we can also use para with places, not talking about how I get there, but actually where I'm going. So por we use with route, but para we use with what? Destination. Exactly. Destination. Whoops, I did not spell that right. Don't copy that. Destination. You know how to spell it? Yo hablo español. I'm a terrible speller anyway. Destination. So, para ir a Kentucky, yo conduzco por North Carolina y Tennessee. Para ir a Mount Pleasant, yo paso por el puente Ravenel. So I can use por and para in the same sentence, starting my sentence off with para to tell you where I'm going, and por to tell you how I get there. ¿Entienden? Okay, and a lot of times we see salgo. We can say voy a or salgo para. Voy a Kentucky, salgo para Kentucky. Esta computadora portátil es para Alicia. So how is para being used here? What are we saying? The computer is for Alicia, exactly. She's the recipient. That's your technical role, recipient of something. It can be a gift, or I bought you pizza, or, you know, the test is for this class. This test is for this class, that test is for the other class. So it translates as for, but we know por can also mean for, so we want to look at our context clues. And here she's a recipient of a gift. So at the end of the semester, when you give me all your gifts for saying thank you, on your little note tag, you're going to write para profeseta de Graham. Okay? That's how you write gift notes to people in Spanish. You write para and whoever you're giving it to. Just kidding, you don't have to give me a gift. Your gift will be preparing for the final exam. That's the real gift for me. Anyway, para plus a person is when they're a recipient. But careful because you could have por plus a person. Remember the expression please in Espanol? ¿Cómo se dice please? Por favor. No, favor is a favor. So when you do something for someone, when you do a favor for someone, think about por favor. If you do it on someone's behalf, like you pick up somebody's shift, they can't come or they want to switch, so you're working, trabajo por él. I'm working for him today. Say.
If you were to say, like, you work for me.
Oh, we'll get to that. Hold that thought.
Okay.
Don't you worry. I'm getting to that one. But when you... Por favor, Phoebe. No, I'm glad you're thinking about that. No, you're exactly right. Because you work for somebody, like your employer. Like, tú trabajas para, obstinate daughter. But when you're doing somebody a favor on their behalf, you're going to use por plus a person. And it's important to distinguish because we can have para with people, and we can have para with places of employment. We can have para for sports teams, and then we can have por with people when we're doing them a favor. So that's why I want to build on what you know with favor. Okay, and this is the one we were talking about earlier, para plus infinitive. Para plus infinitive is used to state what? What's it saying? Keys are used for what? To start the car, right? That's what keys are used for. ¿Para qué se usan las llaves? What are they used for? Para arrancar el carro. So, para with an infinitive is for purpose. What's por with an infinitive? Por plus an infinitive. Remember, ¿cómo se dice por qué? Por qué means what? Why? So, or because. And por plus an infinitive is when we're giving an explanation. Okay? Para plus infinitive can be used to state the purpose. But we'll see another use of para plus infinitive. No para lunes, miércoles. El examen de la lección 11 es para miércoles. So how is para being used here? To say when, an upcoming date, when something is happening, like la fiesta, la boda es para junio, or la graduación, la celebración de la graduación es para mayo, para miércoles, para el próximo sábado, upcoming dates, deadlines, anything like that. That's easy to recognize because there's really no confusion with por. Okay, but here's another example of para plus infinitive. So how is para being used here? I want you to think this one through because we're seeing lots of por and para plus infinitives. And so it's getting a little confusing. What do we know about this TV? It's antique. It's old, but it works well. A contradiction. And what's a fancy term for a contradiction? A paradox. Para? Paradox. Paradoja, really, in Espanol. Paradox, any type of contradiction, like Manu Ginobili, es bajo, pero para ser bajo, juega bien al basketball. That's a paradox. He's short, but he plays well. So whenever we have para plus an infinitive, and we know it's a contradiction, a paradox, we know it's para. So we can have para plus an infinitive to state the purpose, para plus an infinitive to state a paradox, but por plus an infinitive when it's an explanation. And remember, por qué. If you can rearrange the words and use por qué, then you know it's por plus infinitive. Okay, y Phoebe, mira, para ti. Este ejemplo, trabajo para College of Charleston, your employer. Or Cam juega al fútbol para College of Charleston. No? Ustedes, Colin juega al golf para College of Charleston. Tú navegas para College of Charleston, no? Sports teams, employers, things like that. ¿Entienden? So por, when it comes to doing something, can be used as a favor, right? Doing on someone's behalf. Okay, vamos a practicar estos usos de por y para, y van a mostrar sus pulgares hacia arriba para indicar por y pulgares hacia abajo para indicar para. Okay? ¿Entienden? Por o para. Difícil. Empecemos con un ejemplo difícil. Por o para. Indican con sus pulgares. Thumbs or pulgares. Por o para, chicos. No hablen. Por or para. Okay, so we have an infinitive. Let me ask you something. ¿Para qué necesitas conexión inalámbrica? Para navegar en la red. Para navegar en la red, chicos. Because this is the purpose. This is stating what you need it for. ¿Para qué necesitas? Difícil. Vamos a practicar más. Este ejemplo es más fácil. Hoy a las 9 ustedes entrarán en la clase por o para la puerta. La puerta is a place, I guess. But right now you're trying to decide, is this the route or the destination? Y en este ejemplo, por. That's not where you were going. You're going to class, but you entered through the door. ¿Entienden? Por. Route. Otro infinitivo. Por or para. So when you see the infinitive, you're narrowing it down to really 3 options. 1 with por, 2 with para. With para, it is used to indicate its purpose, in order to, what it's used for, or a paradox, a contradiction. Por, though, is used with an explanation as to why something happened or you do something, right? So first you got to narrow it down based on the context clue when it's this ambiguous. And then once you do, es muy obvio. Now, por. Por estar nervioso. Because why? What's it saying? Por estar nervioso cuando conducías, pusiste los frenos. You were nervous, so you did what? Hit the brakes. Exactly. We could rearrange this and use por qué. Pusiste los frenos porque estabas nervioso cuando conducías. Otro ejemplo. Here's your context clue. El, person. Por or para? Para means they're a recipient of a gift or something. But por means you did something on their behalf, like por favor, like a favor, right? So por or para. What's it saying? What does Jose not have? A printer. So what am I doing? Printing it for him. It's a favor, right? He's not I'm not giving him my printer. I'm just printing him the document. Okay. Otro ejemplo. No sé. Por or para. 50-50 though, which is good news for the test if you're a good guesser. Let's figure out how you can know this answer, what you need to do. So when you see a person, first you find the context clue. You're like, oh, it's a person. If it's por with a person, remember, por favor. You're doing a favor for them. If it's para with a person, you're what? They're the recipient of something, of a gift. So, are you doing a favor for her, more or less? Or are you giving her something? That's what you have to think about it. If it's a favor, por favor. If she's the recipient of something, para. What did you do? Yesterday you what? Drove her car, exactly. And then you filled the tank, exactly. Right. Por mi mamá. A favor. If you said like la gasolina es para el carro de mi mamá, you could use para. But you're doing it as a favor. You're being considerate and thoughtful. So what's our context clue here? Precio barato. Sí. So first you got to figure out what your context clue is, and then you look at your rules. And when you look at your rules, you notice what? Precio barato. Exchange, so therefore por or para. Por. Okay, that's the, order of operations you want to implement. So what's our context clue? First find your context clue. What's your context clue? It's an infinitive. Muy bien. So then we narrow it down between two things. Por with an infinitive is used to state what? Explanation. Okay. Para plus an infinitive can be used to state two things. What? Purpose or paradox, contradiction. Right, exactly. So now it should be easy. Por or para? What do you know about this word and this? Sí, para, perdón. Para. So it's a contradiction. Why? Why is this a contradiction? Because it's new, but it doesn't work well. So that's definitely a contradiction. Actually, lunes, no viernes. Por or para, por or para. What's your context clue?
Upcoming date.
Lunes, upcoming date, sí señor, para lunes. Okay, chicas, bueno.